So oddly enough, this video was inspired by one of my favorite YouTube channels I like to watch called Slow Mo Guys. They do a lot of slow motion stuff and they all just look so satisfying to watch. And somehow the idea came to my head on showing Thomas under some strain in slow motion and probably explaining what's happening while the engine is under a whole ton of stress. So we all know that sound your Trackmaster, Tomy, Playrail engines make when they are under a load of strain. Like say if you hold the engine and you force it down, you will hear the that weird gearing noise that it makes. And in this video, I explained to you guys what's going on, how all that stuff happens, and what happens if you buy an engine secondhand and you see that it's beat up and you realize that the engine doesn't move under its own power, something like that. By the way, one more thing. I bought this All Engines Go Devious Diesel set from Carnival Set, and I noticed there's a small piece that's broken from Diesel himself. So I'm going to ask you guys for help. Is this a factory error or no? If it's a factory error, I'm obviously going to keep it sealed. If it's not, then I won't worry about it at all. Thank you. So in this video, we are going to look at some of these Thomases that I know that have a pretty weak gearing. And as you can see, if you hear right there, we're going to see how much strain they can get under, but not enough to break the gearing though. As you can see, I have built a long straight line mixed with Tomy and Trackmaster track, so that way Thomas can get a good distance so he can reach the buffers. And when he reaches the buffers, we can hear the gears clicking and all that sort of noise. So here are my 3 test subjects. As you can see, I got them lined up properly. The first one here is a 2002 Playrail Thomas. This guy I just got recently with the white running board. Love this guy a lot. Next we have a 2009 Mattel Thomas. I think this is just before Mattel took over the brand completely. And next we have a 2012 redesigned Trackmaster Thomas. This one I was told it was from 2012, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, these 3 are by far the only ones that I know that have that weak gearing. Now you're probably going to be asking, how am I going to shoot all this slow motion? Well, I don't have a high-speed camera, that's for sure, because they're very expensive. However, I do have my iPhone 13 Pro that does shoot slow motion, and it shoots slow motion at 240 FPS while shooting at 1080p, and that is more than enough for me to shoot the slow motion footage that you're about to see. So here is the entire setup. As you can see, I have my phone pointed at Thomas, and it's going to be pointing where all 3 of the Thomas models will have a standstill once they reach the buffers, and then we should be able to hear that gear clicking noise. Right, I don't have any camera angle set up. I just have 2. I have one right here and the slow motion camera right here, which I'm using my phone. I will hit record on that and watch Thomas go. First up is a 2002 Playrail Thomas. If you listen closely under this clip, you can actually hear the motor not making a whining sound, but you can hear it sort of straining a little bit, if that makes any sense. Like you can hear eonk, 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 something like that. Next up is the 2009 Mattel Thomas from Trackmaster or Fisher Price. This is before the slight redesign.
Fuck me!
that. Up next is another 2009 redesigned Trackmaster Thomas by Mattel. I'm not sure if this one is a slight upgrade to this one, but I'm just going to say it's a slight redesign, even though the licensing info is the same as that one. Before you come by.
Me?
That's enough of that. So I bet you're all asking at least a couple questions, maybe more, but just in case, I'll throw in these two questions. First of all, out of all the characters in the Tomy Playrail Trackmaster series, why did I choose Thomas? Well, I chose Thomas because I think he's the only one that I know of that has a pretty weak gearing in a way, as hard as that is, harsh as that sounds to say. But it's true, you know. I mean, yeah, a lot of other characters do probably have weak gearings, maybe some that are weaker than that. But I chose Thomas because he's the only one that I know by far that has the weakest gearing. Again, there may be other characters that have way worse gearing or weaker gearing than Thomas does, but he's the only one I know. Secondly, out of all these three engines that do have the weakest gearing, why didn't I choose a knockoff Thomas for this one? Well, unfortunately, with the knockoff Thomas, his gearing is actually a lot stronger, as I mentioned in my previous video, where if I turn it on, you know, he doesn't make that noise. Try as I might, he does not make the noise, unlike the Trackmaster series, especially this one. Yeah, his gearing is just far too strong, and whoever made that Thomas, that is not Mattel, made the gearing pretty solid. And I'm here to explain as to why these engines make that type of noise while they're under a bit of strain, and not to mention when you see an eBay listing or something, when you see these guys pretty beat up, you will see that the gear is either stripped or something. So I'm going to open these three up and we will get started. I will also mention this in the slow motion camera, but first off is the 2002 Takara Tomy Playrail Thomas. As you can see, he's got the simple chassis design that we're all used to, and if I turn it on, you can see he makes that noise. So as you can see, like I said, this is a pretty basic design, and once I turn this on, you see a little shaft that comes out of here, and it's very hard to tell, but you can just see it spinning, except it's not spinning the way the wheels are rotating, it's spinning the other way. The wheels are rotating from our point of view counterclockwise. This little shaft right here is spinning clockwise, which means the motor is spinning a different direction to turn these wheels. I know this doesn't make any sense as a point of what I'm talking about, but it might make sense in a minute. So let me put this Thomas back together, and in a minute I will explain why you might have some of these that have stripped gears. And now we are going to be looking at the 2009 redesign Trackmaster Thomas by Mattel. I think this is the first generation, not long or right as when Mattel took over the licensing after Hit Toy Company sold the licensing to Mattel. So this came out just before Mattel took over the Thomas brand entirely. So as you can see, this one has a similar design as the Playrail Thomas or Tomy Thomas, but you can see the shaft a lot better now. And once I turn this on, yeah, same thing. Makes that noise and all that sort of stuff. I think you can, well, you can't really see anything clear, but you can still see that shaft. And it pokes out more and it's spinning the same direction. So let me put this back together. This right here is what I would believe is maybe the second gen classic Trackmaster Thomas. Not Trackmaster Revolution, obviously. This one came, I believe this one came out just before that. It still says licensed to 2009. But yeah, it's I would call this the second gen classic Trackmaster, but you can call it whatever you want. But as you can see, this one has a different design in motor blocks. And as you can see, you can actually see the motor just right there. So the gearing, I believe the worm gear is behind here. But yeah, don't quote me on that though, because it could be. But it still makes that same noise as you turn the model on. Now let's see if I can get a close-up on what's going on inside the gearbox. Apologies for the difference in camera quality and the difference in sound quality of my microphone. I am now using my phone because my camera cannot zoom in very well on the gearbox of this thing. But I believe this is the closest that I can get out of all three of these models as to see what's sort of going on. So you can see clearly that the gears in here, they are free spinning, right? And there is, once I turn the switch on, there's a piece of gear right there that would usually lock it in place if there's no battery. And once I turn it on, it obviously starts spinning, or the wheels start rotating, and that's the motor spinning the gears. And obviously, if there's no battery in it, it would lock in place. Right now I took the battery out. As you can see, the switch is off. It's now free rolling. But once I turn the switch on, see that gear moving? Right there. Once I turn that gear on, it's locked. It is locked in place. So basically, what's happening is that the motor, or once it makes a noise like that, the motor is still spinning. However, it is actually putting a lot of strain in the worm gear that is powering these gears for rotating the wheels. So basically, that's what that clicking noise is. While the wheels are idling or seized up, that's the worm gear constantly stripping the gears. Although these gears are, funnily enough, either made of plastic or nylon. And very commonly, once you see these things pop up on eBay, all broken and whatnot, that is why these guys have stripped gears so easily. Like if you get like a Tommy Talking Thomas from like 20 years ago or something like that, you will see that it has very, very stripped gears. And you will see that it would not go properly, or just, something like that. Let me switch to my camera and maybe I can explain this better. Apologies for the difference in camera quality and sound quality again. I just switched from my phone to my camera. And out of all these three, I will not be opening either one of these up. However, I do have a 2006 Hit Toy Company Thomas that I've had for several years now, probably 8 years, I think. This was given to me by a family member. But I will be opening this up, and hopefully I will explain a lot better on what's going on with the worm gear, or the other gears in general, as to why these things sort of strip the gears while they go through so much abuse. So take the shell off. Now we'll be taking these screws out. I do not recommend you doing this, by the way, and I probably should have said it earlier in the video. Do not do this, because again, you will be risking stripping all those gears inside your Thomas model. Damn, these screws are tight. But yeah, do be careful at your own risk. This is just an experiment and sort of a inspiration video in general. This should come out, hopefully. No, I probably should take that plate off too. Okay. Right, this should give hopefully a better example of what I'm talking about. There's a worm gear right there, and there's a main gear here that powers all of these gears. So technically, what's going on is that this shaft, this little shaft right here with the spring on it, that is the one that moves once you turn the unit on. See how it moves right there? I gotta gently do it because everything is loose. There we go. So right now I have the unit off, and right now as the unit is off, everything is freewheeling until that little gear here moves once the little switch is on, and it locks everything in place once you don't have a battery inside the unit. And once you do have the battery, or once you do have the switch on without the battery, it will obviously have the gears engage. And these gears are made of either plastic or nylon. I would assume nylon, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. And with kids these days, especially back in the day, with how they would abuse all these toys and whatnot, eventually when they make that weird sound, as the engines are going through a number of strains, as they make that noise, what will happen is over time, if they do it long enough, the gears will wear out, and they will eventually split. If you see my video where I unbox my Tommy Oliver, I've mentioned that has a split gear in it, and I actually had to replace that driving wheel entirely. So yeah, that is the sign, or the scientific method, I would like to call it, of how these guys can easily be stripped of their gears, of their axles. Once they go, they are replaceable at least, but I feel like at the same time, it is not very easy. So technically, once all that strain goes through, apparently it's the motor that's doing all the work, and apparently the main gears that are idling, once the wheels are stable, once they hit a certain object, or if you hold it down, is, I would say, this gear or possibly another gear, and this motor here, it could be all of the gears that are seized once that noise is made. And it's the motor. The motor is still spinning, but it's stripping all of its teeth. It's not doing it entirely once you don't do it long enough, but if you do it long enough, its teeth will be stripped, and it will eventually strip maybe not all these gears, even though I probably just said that earlier, but oh well. It will also strip the, and if you can see it, sorry if it's blurry, the main gear that is driving the driving wheel. So there you go. That is my little inspiration video I had in mind. I hope you didn't find it boring, and I hope you found it at least interesting. And I know there's probably some of you out there that probably knows exactly what happens inside the motor units of these models, but I would just thought I'd at least make something just in case. And like I said, this was an inspiring video to make. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you lasted this long, I thank you very much for doing so. Hit the like button if you liked it, click share, turn on notifications so you don't miss out on every single video you upload after you subscribe, and comment down below, let me know what you think. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody. I hope you enjoyed some slow motion today at least.